Alright guys, welcome back to part 4 of the Accord 5-speed swap. We're getting really close, so we only have like 5 major things to do so far. So the first thing we need to do is figure out this brake pedal inside the car, because obviously the automatic one is too big. It's just a piece of steel, so we have a Sawzall and we're going to be cutting that down to the appropriate size and putting the manual foot on it. From there, we have 3 major wiring things we need to figure out. So the first thing is going to be we need to figure out the wiring for the clutch interlock so we can start the car. Because, of course, there is no park on a manual, so we need to rewire that. So the starter system will operate. From there, we need to figure out the vehicle speed sensor wiring, which shouldn't be too bad, but we need to do that so the speedometer will work and also VTEC will function normally. And then after that, we just need to figure out the reverse lights, which should be the easiest, but also the least on the priority list for that. And then the fourth thing is just put coolant in it. It already has oil and transmission fluid in it, but we need to burp the cooling system. And then stick the battery and intake back on the bumper, the wheels, and send it. So hopefully we did everything correctly and we don't have any problems. I don't think we will. We torqued everything to spec. You know, we went decently slow with everything and tried to do everything correctly. So we'll see how it goes. But for the first endeavor of the day, we got the old Sawzall out and we're going to go ahead and trace around the manual pedal pad and then just cut it out to size. So that's how I'm going to get to work doing. And then we also have a soldering iron for our wiring, because we are going to need to run some wires to our speed sensor down there. And then we also have an OBD scanner just so I can monitor like the coolant temps and such when we start the car. So anyways, I'm gonna get started with this and we'll see how she goes. So here's my rough cut. It's not perfect obviously, but we have a Dremel and an angle grinder, so we're just gonna kind of contour this to the shape of our brake pedal here. So I will continue working on that. Alright guys, so the pedals are almost done. The brake pedal is ready to go. As you can see, it is now the proper size, and we just need to hook up the clutch pedal to the actual master cylinder. And from there, the pedals are complete. So that would mean that the custom fab work is pretty much done. Thank the Lord.
All the smelly shit's done.
Yeah, all the burny, cutty, metal shard type stuff is complete. So,
oh man, shoot, I swore. You can't monetize this video now.
That's fine. And then, yeah, so then we can move on to the wiring. Alright, so our plunger is hooked up to our clutch pedal here, and we tested it, and it is operating the slave cylinder, which is obviously connected to the release fork. So anyhow, we might have to bleed the clutch one more time, just because Jack thinks it still feels a little weird. To me, I've driven a few manual Hondas, and it feels pretty normal, but obviously we'll just have to make the fine adjustments when we drive it. But for now, we are going to start working on the clutch interlock wiring, because obviously we can't start the car until we do that. So that is going to be our next step. Alright guys, so we had a bit of a small snag. We had to actually install a brand new clutch slave cylinder, because that was the reason the clutch was a little bit soft, is that it was leaking out of the clutch slave cylinder. So we went ahead and replaced that with a brand new one, bled the system, and the clutch feels great now. So now we are moving on to the wiring portion of this. We just found the wire responsible for the interlock, so my boy Jack is under the dash here, and we're getting ready to run the necessary wires for that. We already tried to crank it, and it does crank if we ground out that wire, so we're good there. And then of course we're gonna have to see if we can get around the immobilizer later, but this should be about it for now.
Well, wow.
Yeet.
Should be pretty easy.
Yeah, I think so. I did notice that my temperature gauge needle transplant thing did not go too well, but the gas gauge seems to be working fine, so, I mean, oh well. If that's the only thing that's screwed up in this whole project, then I'm okay with it.
You're doing pretty good.
Yeah, exactly. So, yep, so we'll have, hopefully have this going really quickly. Alright guys, so we just got the clutch interlock wired up, and we're about to see if she'll start. So we decided to sacrifice this key. This is the valet key. We thought about doing foil, but I personally don't think that's gonna work. So basically what we did, we just drilled a couple of holes in the valet key, which is obviously paired to the automatics ECU. And I have 2 other master keys, so I don't care about this key getting, you know, destroyed.
Yeah. I think we got all the like crystal or whatever's in here that that talks to the mobilizer.
Yeah, so we're hoping if we can just hold this key, which is the one paired to the manual ECU right in front of it, that it'll start.
Yep.
So we're about to see days of work on the line right here. So
Okay, so make sure she's in neutral. So I'm gonna hold it like that.
you might want to put the key in front because it's got the
that's right,
mobilizer
it's on
chip
the
on the
bottom.
other side. Yeah.
Okay.
Here we go. There you go. The immobilizer light is out.
Here we go, buddy.
See if she starts.
Oh,
Yes.
she's sweet.
Yes. It's running.
All right, I'm gonna shut her up.
Yeah, go for it. We don't have any coolant in it, so.
Cooler.
Okay, so our proof of concept works. The clutch interlock is working. Our makeshift key situation is working, at least until we can get to the dealership and have them program some new keys for us. So now we're going to go take a break because we have a victory, and then I'll put coolant in it, and we'll just keep going from there. Finish up the wiring and get this car rolling.
Get her on the road. Hopefully, I'm hoping we'll have this thing on the road in a couple hours.
Yeah, me too.
Not that much more to do.
No, just the VSS and the reverse lights, and then put the bumper, put coolant in it, bleed it, put the intake on, and the wheels, and that should be it.
You can work on that while I'm working on the wiring.
Exactly. Yeah. All right. Well, victory. All right, guys. She's starting to look like a car again. So we got. First thing we did, obviously, was make it start, which you just saw. And the second thing we did is I filled it with coolant and bled the cooling system. So now it's not going to overheat. So that's perfect. Then we put the front bumper back on and the wheels and the underbody pan. So it is a car again. Now, we did find a leak that was already there from the VTEC solenoid, which is right here. That guy's leaking, so we're gonna need to get an O-ring for that, but that's not a huge deal. So now we're working on getting the vehicle speed sensor wired up so we can have a speedometer and have VTEC function. So that's gonna be next. We can see Jack's over here at the ECU.
Yeah, buddy.
Taking out some, or looking at some stuff. So all we pretty much need to do is just reroute a couple of wires from the automatic harness and make them talk to the manual system, because on the automatic it goes from the ECU to the gauge cluster, whereas from the manual it goes from the transmission to the gauge cluster and tees off to the ECU, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Like on the automatic car, the ECU generates the speed signal for the gauge cluster. On the manual car, it's got that big VSS. You can go show it to them.
Oh yeah, true.
That just outputs the raw signal, and then
It's like a voltage, right? Or
yeah,
like
it's a voltage. So the voltage is generated by the ECU on the automatic car. It's voltage generated by the sensor on the manual car.
Interesting. So I'll just show you the one we have on the bench because it's much easier to see. So here's our vehicle speed sensor. See, it has a big old gear on it, and then just has 3 wires.
Yep. So one's your power, one's your ground, one is your signal out. Yep.
Yeah. So we're probably just going to grab power off of the secondary O2 sensor because it's very close.
I actually found a pin that should have power on here.
Oh, you think so? On that harness? Okay, sweet.
The car, if it matches outside, it should be good.
Okay, that would be even better. And then we'll just ground it out probably on this bolt here for the clutch line. And then that should be cool. And then we need to repin a connector on the ECU. And then from there, it should work. So we're hoping that that will do it, but we shall see very shortly. But I'm just glad that the car runs and doesn't overheat and looks like a car again. That's a big step.
Sounds good. Clutch works. Power bushing works.
Yeah, so we put the clutch in and I shifted in first gear. We rolled the front wheels and it seems totally fine. Obviously, we won't know until we drive it about the engagement and the feel of the clutch and whatnot. But from in the air, just shifting it, it felt fine. So anyways, we're going to keep working on it and we'll update you guys when we got that going. Alright guys, so we got the engine side of the VSS all wired up and ready to go, but now we are working on repinning the ECU harness, so Jack's going to do some explanation.
Okay, so this is a pretty kind of standard multi-pack connector. I believe this one's 30-something pins. So to repin these, it's pretty easy. So first thing you want to do, yeah, you want to hold that?
There we go.
So what you want to do is get your pick in here and just pop this white. This is a junk connector, so that's why it's kind of chewed up.
Yeah,
I was practicing on it. So you want to get your pick in here, pop the white piece up just a little bit, so you can see the white piece is not flush. So that basically unlocks all the pins. So then what you can do, so you can pick your pin. So let's say we want to take this green one out here, flip it around to the other side. So these little holes here that my pick is in now, those are the actual terminals. These holes have tabs in them, so I don't know if you'll be able to see down in there.
Yeah, you can see it, kinda. A little bit.
A little bit.
They get the idea.
Yeah, so there's little tabs in there, so what you can do is you can grab it. I usually like to grab grab with these just 2 fingers so I can push it and pull it at the same time. So you want to put a little pressure, upwards pressure into the connector. That'll take any tension off the tab. Stick your pick in here, pick the wire. If it's not coming out, just put a little bit more pressure up on this white thing. It's not very well defined where it clicks in. So then you get in here, pry that little pin down, then this just comes right out.
There you go.
So if you're concerned about putting this back in, this part here with these little ears on it, I don't know if you can see. Maybe if you get it from that angle.
There you go.
That goes on top and clicks in there. So if this just came out of this hole, so let's say we want to repin this to pin, whatever this would be, 10. You can just plug this in, here, click in, then close the connector.
There it is.
There you go. So now it's not going anywhere.
So basically what we're doing is we already explained this, but on the automatic it goes from the ECU to the cluster, but on the manual it goes from the speed sensor on the transmission directly to the cluster, and then we need to tee off of that for a signal to the ECU.
Yeah, so signal shared by both.
Yeah, whereas on the automatic it goes to the ECU first and then the cluster.
So by removing this, we don't have to try to depin the harness in the car. All we got to do is unlock the white thing, shove it in. Yep, shove this into the pin we need.
Yep, and then tee it onto the other wire.
Yep.
To the gauge cluster.
We got to do two soldering jobs, I think, in there. So no big deal.
Yeah.
Or we could just use crimp connectors if we're lazy.
Cool.
So.
All right, guys. Well, she's kind of a dirty mess, but we just finished going on the maiden voyage, and we watched the cooling temperatures and everything, and she was fine. Everything is operating as intended. It shifts great. Pulls great. It's pretty great. 10 out of 10. So we got the new headlights in. It looks pretty good. Like I said, the car is complete at this point. Completely complete. So we did it. That was roughly 4 days of hard labor, but it's done, and it was totally worth it. So anyways, guess I can pop the hood again. All right, so as you can see, here's the finished product. Got everything back in. Gonna need to replace this intake tube because it cracked again, and this won't pass emissions like that, but that's a minor detail. We can do that later. Everything is good. We did notice, like I said, the VTEC solenoid is seeping a bit, so I'll have to get an O-ring for that and replace it, but everything else is done. You can see our wires down there for the VSS and the reverse lamps, so the
should be good enough for this application.
Yeah,
it's not like the VSS ones we all taped them up good.
Exactly. Yeah, we wrapped them in several layers.
It's not like it snows here, so I don't think corrosion will be a problem.
Exactly. It should be fine the way it is. So there you are. That is about it. I don't know what else to say. I guess we can, when we drive home, we'll get another little clip. But that is about it for the mechanicals of the car. All right, guys. So figure we'll demonstrate for you real quick. Turn the key on. You can see the light goes out like it should. We're gonna get the keys reprogrammed like a couple days from now, but for now it's good. I'll go ahead and give her a start. There you are. So we did notice, like I said, the temp gauge is way off.
She's having a good time.
And the fuel gauge is a little bit off. So again, that was my fault, but if that's our biggest screw up in this project, then I'm happy about that. And yeah, I guess we can go and drive home. So clutch in, first gear. Drives absolutely normally. Now, of course, you got to break in the clutch over a couple 100 miles, but we'll do that tomorrow probably. We just wanted to give her a quick shakedown before we go home and eat dinner because I'm starving. But yeah, that was definitely multi-day project. The Accord forums were 100% correct in this being a 4+ day job, especially if you're the only one doing it. I was lucky that I had help and someone who knew what the fuck they were doing, so that's why it went by so quickly for us. But yeah, again, we torqued everything to spec, we wired everything up, it looks pretty much factory, and I don't know how we could have done it any better, so I'm really happy about that.
This is your greatest automotive
Possibly
achievement.
my greatest automotive achievement is this vehicle right here.
Greatest automotive achievement ever.
Yeah. Alright, so we're about to get on the freeway real quick, so I'll do a little bit of a pull for you guys. Nothing too aggressive because we got to break in the clutch, but just to show that the vehicle is operating as intended. She works. noises, nothing like that. So I would call this project a success. So anyways, guys, thank you for watching this multi-part series on the biggest automotive project I've ever done. I'm glad to say that it was a complete success. And yeah, see you guys in the next one.